what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
U.S. Health Advisors want you to know your health coverage does not have to be complicated. If you aren't happy with your insurance plan, there are unlimited and comprehensive medical plan options available to you right now. U.S. Health Advisors offers solutions which can't be found anywhere else. They can even offer you the ability to purchase more coverage if and when you need it. U.S. Health Advisors offers fair rates and no surprises. Sounds nice, doesn't it? If you'd like to know more, contact U.S. Health Advisors at 828-554-3032 or by email at daniel.bryant@ushadvisors.com.
Welcome to the Street Circle Drive podcast here on The Mesh. I am your co-host, Andrew Moose. With me today, my co-host, as always, Michael McNally. How are you, man?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing great. The Street Circle Drive is your Hickory-centric podcast for people who love Hickory and want to know more about Hickory. First, I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in. We couldn't do this podcast without you, and we seriously do appreciate it. Once you finish this podcast, head over to themesh.tv and subscribe to all of our shows so that you can have them beam intergalactically right to your preferred device. What platform,
through the internet.
What platform do you like to use, McNally?
I always just use Apple iTunes podcasts and I plug it in my car. Good to go.
Right on. Personally, I like to use themesh.tv. I like to go straight to the website.
Well, they pay your bills. So that's good. Well,
okay,
actually, you get to do that from the office and just,
right.
No, it's work.
Right. Speaking about paying bills, if you're a listener out there and want to become a sponsor of our network or any individual show, you can go to themesh.tv and there's a button there for advertising. You can click on that and find out more information, or you can go and send an email to info@themesh.tv for more information. It's a great opportunity to really reach a selected targeted audience, super low cost, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it. Today, we have a very special guest, newly elected to Hickory City Council for Ward 1, Mr. Tony Wood.
Thank you.
How are you,
so
Tony?
much. I'm doing fine.
Good. Thanks for coming. Very good. We appreciate you coming in and spending a little time with us this afternoon.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Awesome. Well, we'll just get right into it. Tony, what made you run for council?
Well, I have, I grew up in Hickory. I've been in Hickory for many years, moved away after college and got my professional life started, but have been back since, I guess, 2001 when Lainey, my wife, and I decided to have our son. We wanted to raise him in Hickory. And since that time, I've been involved in the city in different capacities, probably most visibly as sitting on Parks and Rec Commission and being the chair of Parks and Rec Commission for 2 terms. So had I understand how the city works. I had some relationships with the staff and some of the city council members, working relationships. So when I learned that Brad was not going to seek re-election, I felt like it was an opportunity for me to go to the next level in terms of my involvement and try to serve the city that's been so good to me and my family.
Right, and we're really excited to have you on the council, and we called some of the debate and really liked your platform and really liked the direction that you're trying to take our council. And I would just love to hear a little bit about what ideas that you might have that might be new to our council or new to the city, or if you can expound on that a little bit.
Well, I think that right now the where my focus needs to be and where staff's focus needs to be are on these bond projects. I mean, you think about it. The city budget's about $110 million a year. We've got approximately $100 million worth of bond projects going on.
Right.
So we've effectively doubled workload for the staff without adding staff. So I think right now the key is to keep our eye on the prize and deliver these bond projects, get them done on budget, and get that behind us and enjoy the growth and everything that comes with delivering those projects. So I'm not sure that I can say something new as much as I can say we need to keep our eye on the ball here and make sure that that we don't stray from the mission here of what the citizens have told us. I mean, they mandated we want these projects.
Right, and and that's something that's very, very soothing to hear as a constituent of yours, is that we're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. We've got these things, then we've got our, like you said, eye on the prize, and we need to basically make sure that comes to fruition. We want to make sure that all these projects are on budget and all that good stuff. That's awesome to hear.
Well, you harken back a little bit, like you said, when you moved here most recently before seeking this office, how you served on Parks and Rec. In working with folks, of course, tons of people really love and are invested in Hickory. What started you down the path towards where you are now? So to getting into Parks and Rec, how would you even, if people say, well, I want to get involved, what sort of path would you help them navigate to get to, maybe not running for office like you, but getting involved in, and what are some of those opportunities? You mentioned Parks and Rec and so forth. I
am so glad you asked that, because I'll tell you how it started for me is, first of all, it was Landon, and I wanted to set an example of civic involvement for Landon, volunteering, being involved in the city, those types of things. So Laney, Landon, and I signed up for neighborhood college, Hickory Neighborhood College. Landon was about 10 years old, I think, and to this day, he's still the youngest graduate of Hickory's Neighborhood College. But we did it as a family, and I encourage everyone to do neighborhood college. It's a chance to go to all the departments of the city, understand what they do, how they work. You understand the government. You're taught the government process, how our city functions, in the council manager form of government, and that's how it all started. And that's the way. That is the best way to get involved in the city, whether it's running for council eventually or being on a commission. Just getting in neighborhood college. It's a 10-week course.
Right. Kind of switching back to the bond projects. Personally, what bond project are you just geared up and excited about?
The City Walk is. The City Walk is impressive, and I'm excited about that. But, that's a difficult question, because I don't think that you can look at them individually, because they're all interconnected, and the goal that they're pushing toward are dependent upon each other, of delivering all of these. So it's it's a hard question to answer, but I really like the City Walk. I really like the interconnectedness that's going to bring, but the other projects are going to do that as well.
Right. There's a lot of folks in town are super excited, and I want to just say maybe even impatient a little. Do you have specific timelines that you could share? Do you have any idea of when said sections would be done, or is there even a timeline for completion for these things?
I will tell you that I know people are so excited, and I like to call it patiently impatient.
Right. Sure.
And the analogy, this is a worn out analogy, I do believe, but what has happened since the passing of the bond referendums? It's been kind of like the analogy of the duck. It's still above the surface, but there's a lot of work going on under the surface. And I don't think that's what people understand is there's been a lot of work going on. It just hasn't been visible.
Right.
Now we're turning dirt. So what I can tell you about timing is from the time we turn dirt to completion is about 18 months on each project.
Gotcha.
So the City Walk just started.
Right.
So 18 months from now, that should be delivered.
Right. And from what I understand, they're starting outward and working inward towards downtown. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
Yes. So the River Walk, that will be. I think that's still in the design stage. It's being finalized. So once they turn dirt on the River Walk, 18 months.
Gotcha.
That's what we're looking at.
Right. And I just. I've looked at the plans for the Riverwalk, and they are super impressive. And if the plans turn out to what the actual project looks like, that's going to be fantastic. What I personally would like to know is, I know that there's in the Deidre Lackey Park area, there's an amphitheater, or what's exactly that? What's that going to look like? There
are some renderings of that out there, and it's going to have, of course, the amphitheater part of the project. That's going to be such a great space for community gatherings and community events, as well as private events there. But the trail system that it's going to be, I encourage you to go to the City of Hickory website and check out those renderings. It's pretty impressive. I saw them in City Council meeting, and it's an impressive thing. Yeah,
there's those renderings are the 3D videos and all that. There's a treasure trove of information there on HickoryNC.gov, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And the bond project has its own dedicated website.
Yes,
but you can get to it from the main site of the.
Right. Yeah, just do a little Google magic. You can find that.
Yeah, there's a link out there.
Internet.
Right, for sure.
So recently went through the whole campaign. I am sure bond project came up once or twice.
But, a few times, yes.
What were some of the other things that themes that kept recurring when you were out there talking to the electorate, to the constituents in Hickory, that they were bringing to you, either positives, maybe concerns, things they wanted to see addressed that either surprised you or were kind of what you were expecting?
I think from what I was expecting, the issues that impact people's daily lives, quality of life issues that, might not be important to all, but certainly important to certain people, roads, roadways, resurfacing, those types of things. They want to understand. I think a lot of people don't understand the program that the city has in place for resurfacing of roads. The thing that surprised me, and this surprises most people, is I did not realize that the difference between roads owned and maintained by the City of Hickory and those by the DOT.
Right.
It is confusing at best.
I understand.
I got a full-size map on my wall at work with the roads delineated, who is responsible for which road. But that surprised me to learn that because some of the roads that are in most need of repair, they're not the
Hickory
city.
Can't do anything about it, really.
They're not ours.
Right.
They're not ours to repair. So those types of issues came up. The other thing is attracting people. How do we attract people for the 3,100 jobs that are open within a 25-mile radius of downtown Hickory?
Right. Really good paying jobs as well. These aren't just the McDonald's and not that McDonald's is a bad job.
No.
But there are very high paying, skilled positions available out there.
Absolutely.
And we've had a multitude of guests that have come on, and we've talked about the partnerships that we've had with CVCTC, trying to get those jobs filled and all that good stuff. What do you see as newly elected councilman as some idea that you might have that might be able to alleviate some of this? Some of these companies have tens of jobs that are open. It's granted. I know it's very granular, but it's still a community issue.
Well, it's what I live every day. I mean, I'm an executive recruiter, and that's what I do for a living. You're
just not just a councilman?
Oh, that's right. No, believe it or not.
Hold on. Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not. But I'm an executive recruiter. I work the healthcare space. And so attracting talent is what I live and breathe every day. And, I think that there's a mindset, and I teach this to my clients, or I advise my clients on this. There's a difference between having a hiring mindset and having a recruiting mindset. Hiring is when you have more available qualified people than jobs. So it becomes a sorting and a picking process. Let's pick from all that we have available. Recruiting is when you have fewer qualified candidates than jobs.
Sure.
Then it becomes a sales function. I'm not sure that a lot of companies understand that. I don't think they understand the distinction and the importance of the mindset in recruiting, but it's coming. This situation that we have now is necessitating that we take a recruiting mindset. Same thing for the city. That's what we're doing with the bond projects. We're improving quality of life. We're attracting talent. So it's that sales mindset, and all this comes together just like that. And you can see it working. I mean, you can see people coming. I talked to people throughout the campaign, and even this week that they've moved here from talked to a family that moved from California because they had heard about Hickory.
Great.
So it's working. It's just not instantaneous.
Yeah, and we've had kind of reverting back to some of our previous guests. We've talked to them endlessly about how all these bond projects do nothing but bring people in and improve our quality of life and improve our community. And and having that, it's going to be able to. It's going to create an even larger pool of people that we're going to be able to pull from. So hopefully, these jobs will be able to be filled by these people that are coming in and all that good stuff.
With that, of course, there are things that the city you can't be the recruiter for a company. Obviously, the companies need to do their part and not only selling themselves, but the region where they are. But there are certain things that the city can do. And I know there's been articles and things about beyond just the city of Hickory, but housing stock, both in what would be typically classified as affordable housing and then just housing of all levels and types. A lot of apartment complexes, or at least two large ones, have are close to coming online or have started to come online here in Hickory. What is the appetite and the place of the city of Hickory to really bring in the housing element? Because the jobs are one thing, but people have to have place to live, and especially at different stages of their life/career. Mm-hmm. What is that world, or how is that call coming together? I'm sure you even hear that in your professional world, depending on where the hospitals and medical places that you deal with. But what does that look like, and how do you, as a city, target that?
Yeah, exactly. I think, I think we have to go back and do some history. And I know both of you all are aware of the history that in the two economic downturns we had, we lost 45,000 jobs, or whatever the number was, and there was some serious pain in terms of housing. People who developed housing and owned rental homes, I think there was some serious pain felt during those downturns. With that comes fear, a residual fear for developers and things like that. I think that is subsiding a little bit now, and developers are coming back in. But the city, the city has a limited purview and limited tools and ability to attract developers, housing, construction, those types of things. What we have to do is we have to make it attractive. We have to have. We have to be zoning and land development friendly, which I think we are. That helps with drawing in developers, and again, it comes to drawing people, having people to buy those homes, having people who are employed that can pay those mortgage payments or rent payments, whatever the case might be. So, again, I hate to keep going back to the infrastructure, whether it's bond projects, high quality services that the city delivers. That's the key, and being zoning and land use friendly. I think that is very important.
Great. Yeah, there's a lot of indirect impact from all these things. With the bond projects happening. What I think people aren't grasping is that with all this, with the bond projects, you are going to have other companies and businesses and people that are going to come basically as a direct. Sorry, I'm looking for. McNally, help me out.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. The English language always gets you every time. But no, we've already had announcements that have come. Dovetailing with the announcements or the starts of projects, but not necessarily waiting for the completion, which is what you want to see: government money leading to greater private investment. So we've had the two residential places downtown that have been announced.
Right.
One in the City Hall parking lot, one across from CCM with the
WODA project.
Yeah, the 55 plus, but there's also going to be affordable housing elements to both of those projects, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see more of that trivium once that first building goes up. One, you make the financial institutions a little more comfortable to finance the next one. You make the construction companies more comfortable to bring in the folks that they need to work on those projects. So we have seen, at least in those two announced projects, some announcements that have followed from private sector following that government lead on those, and I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
There's a lot of indirect impact of businesses and services that will come because of the bond, or indirectly because of the bond.
Oh, absolutely. Trivium Corporate Park. ITM Pharmaceuticals has they're coming to town, and it's a direct result of what we're doing. The trail system, the interconnectedness. It's just it's the vision is being validated on a weekly basis, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, we had Mike Bill from the Hickory Velo Club, the bike club.
Yes, I know Mike.
And he was saying that a lot of companies that are thinking about locating to Hickory, they are looking at these things. They're absolutely 100% looking at these things and actually even making decisions because of these things. Mm-hmm. Having employees or having things for their employees to do and better facilities for their employees to have in communities where they're moving to. That's almost number one for companies when they're moving.
Absolutely, and CVCC, we don't underestimate the impact that they're having in this regard. The Workforce Solutions Center complex. I don't know if you've been there. It's amazing. It is just an amazing facility, and the value there. The value is tremendous for these companies that come in that need highly skilled, highly trained labor. that's a jewel
for sure.
for Hickory.
And CVCC is trying their best to try to fill all of those jobs. With everybody that comes in their doors. I mean, and the beautiful part about this, and again, we've had guests come on and talk about this as well. But they're hiring for these jobs. I mean, they're teaching for these jobs that are open because If I was an 18-year-old kid and looking at hundreds of $1,000s of student loan debt or spending a couple $1,000s at CVCC and jumping right into a job, that's super attractive. And, more power to them. They're Garrett Henshaw and those guys are doing a fantastic job over there.
Yeah, they are. I don't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal article last week, front page, Wall Street Journal, about the furniture industry and the training that CVCC is doing.
I did not see that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I encourage you to check it out.
Right
I posted it to Facebook, but I'm sure it's out there. But it's a great article.
Also, I'll link it to this podcast as well.
Yeah, perfect.
That'd be great.
So, with all that said, and I know I'm going to steal Moose's favorite question.
How dare you?
You were going to do it next, weren't you?
Next.
Oh, my goodness.
Go ahead.
So we like to ask guests, regardless of what position they come in and speaking on behalf of, but if you had a magic wand for the city of Hickory. Now, of course, we know, and you're a councilman, Hickory is the best place to live, work, play. But if there was the magic wand, something you could do or like to see done to make us just that much better instantaneously, what would that be?
That is a great question.
That's why I stole it.
Yeah.
But I gave him his credit.
Yeah,
I gave him his credit.
And we do have those magic wands for sale.
Well, good. I will take one before I leave. If I could do, I'm torn between. A couple of things.
Well, we'll let you have a double twirl on the magic twine there.
I'm so excited about seeing Hickory in 5 to 10 years. I'm so excited. I don't want to wish my life away because I'm excited about what I'm going to do over this next 5 to 10 years. But I think if I could wave a magic wand, I would implement the bond projects and have them done today. Mm-hmm. I would have that finished, that completed. So that's one of them. I'll tell you something else that's equally exciting to me, and this comes with the 10-year vision, is the number of DOT projects that are going to be happening around Hickory over the next 10 years. The 321 project, making it a super street, new bridges, and this is not Hickory, but the interchange at 321 and 85. Mm-hmm. That's near and dear to my heart because my wife commutes to Charlotte twice a week for her job, and that's such a bottleneck right there. Think about how much easier traffic's going to flow from Hickory to Charlotte, and then we become instantly more attractive as a place to live and commute to Charlotte because the commute's not bad now. Right. 20 years ago, if you'd asked somebody from Hickory if they'd commute to Charlotte, it was beyond the realm of reason.
Sure. And 16 is the same way. 16 is getting ready to be 4 lanes all the way to that Dillon and her Chevrolet right there.
Exactly.
I mean, that's basically from where we're sitting right now to downtown Charlotte in less than probably 50 minutes.
Right. So
with the 4 lane.
Yeah. So you think about easier to commute, lower cost of living, lower cost of housing, all of these things. Hickory is going to be instantly attractive to people who are, maybe working in Charlotte.
Yeah, and granted, all biases aside, if I was looking at places to live, if I got a new job in downtown Charlotte today, I would look at absolutely the surrounding areas and say, okay, would I rather sit in traffic for an hour and a half or drive freely for 50 minutes from a suburb into downtown? Mm-hmm. I think that's these viable solutions that we're providing for folks that we got to keep pushing these to the forefront to these folks, and that's what people like economic development specialists and people like yourself are trying to attract these people. I think is number one is the commute. And and your wife can probably attest to that. Is because if you start your day off sitting in traffic for an hour, I can't imagine how that. I have a 7.
Well, then your brain, you're finishing your day off that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have a 7-minute commute to work. I have no idea what that's like, but it's. I can only imagine what that life decision, whether to sit in traffic for an hour or to be able to drive for an hour. I think it's just kind of a no-brainer. But I digress.
Well, you think I'm the same way. There's something about motion. I mean, forget about the time. If I'm in motion for that hour, it's a totally different experience than sitting still. But you think about
the rage level comes down.
Yeah, exactly. But you take people that say they relocate from Atlanta to Charlotte. they would love to have this commute.
Right, sure.
Atlanta, Atlanta's one of the markets I serve as a recruiter, and it's nightmarish. It's just nightmarish. The commute from Hickory to Charlotte is nothing for those people.
Sure. Yeah, I was driving back from Florida and had to go through Atlanta, and we sat in traffic for 2 hours. Like it wasn't anything, and people were, I've asked a friend of mine who is from Atlanta, I was like, why, what's going on with this? Why is it such an issue? And it's just influx of people.
The infrastructure can't keep up.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever catches up at this point.
I don't know how infrastructure can get any bigger when they have like 20-lane interstates down there or whatever it is. It's massive.
Well, and Charlotte was having those conversations 15 years ago when I was at the chamber here. Like, well, we want to be the size of Atlanta, and they didn't have the infrastructure there. Sure. And you see how they've been dragging their feet, not securing funding. Mm-hmm. Well, laying down track is not getting cheaper by the day.
Right.
Or lanes of roads. I mean, now that's the HOV, and we've got that whole mess down there. So they're even fighting headwinds trying to get infrastructure, and that's why what can we do as a regional partner? I mean, gosh, if I could wave a magic wand, building upon what you said would be, I always say how Iredell County was as a county government. Well, as a county government, they were wanting to sit there and say, well, we don't want to contribute to the light rail coming up towards the Davidson, Cornelius, Huntersville area because you have Statesville and North, which is mostly farmland, and Statesville, and then Southern is Charlotte suburbs. There's a little bit of a, headbutting between those two. And I remember sitting there thinking, gosh, I wish we could just wave our hand, open up the treasure chest, say, all right, fine, shoot that sucker right up 16.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a game changer, but it's just, it's hard to sit there and think, well, not everybody'd live here. And I sit there and think, like, I'd rather get 50 cents on the dollar, either live here or work here. And then as your life changes, maybe like, well, why don't we just move up there? I'm already working. Yeah, there's so many things that can happen. You're just leaving yourself those opportunities, and that's the big key.
Exactly. You talk about infrastructure. Building new infrastructure is expensive, obviously, but the maintenance of our existing infrastructure, what a huge burden that is. A lot of the infrastructure, not just Hickory, but in the United States, was built after World War II when the government wanted to get everybody to work and those types of things. So, the federal government, DOT, EPA, they poured all this money into the states and these municipalities to build this infrastructure. Well, those days are long gone. That money has evaporated. So now we have it, and we're in charge of solely maintaining it. Right. And that is a huge burden. And I don't think people, it pays to know the history on that. I know it's frustrating when you drive on a road that's not perfectly paved, those types of things, but that stuff's expensive.
Yeah. Well, it pays to know the history and to pay attention to that. But the other thing is that's always kind of, if it's not at the forefront, it's in the back of the minds. But, you talked about even just one issue of states roads, local municipality roads, right? Mm-hmm. It is always talked about states pushing those onto the city. Well, it's not going to lower the state taxes because they've got plenty of other things to deal with, but then you as the city are going to have this additional expense to keep up. There's always that fear or that kind of tension of, well, we'll give the roads to the cities where they are located.
Right.
You want to talk about a balance of expense, cost, headaches, staffing. There's always things like that in the background that people don't know the roads, who owns what.
Right.
Well, that can change too, and that creates its own dilemma.
Yeah, that's a huge budget impact when that kind of thing happens.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's not unexpected, but it's definitely not budgeted for or anything like that else either. So
right, exactly.
So Tony, in the next 4 years, if you were to say, if you had one goal or a couple goals that we haven't touched on today, what would those goals be in the next 4 years for you?
I'm not sure that this is going to be, a huge announcement or anything like that. I just want to serve the constituents. I want to listen and I want to serve. It's not about my agenda. It's about the citizens' agenda.
Sure.
And the mandates that they make and how we can improve quality of life. But selfishly, I will say, and this is, I know this is a general answer, I want to continue to make opportunities. Create opportunities for a high quality of life for the citizens of Hickory, whatever that means, whether it's bond projects, whether it is, high quality services, bringing, jobs to the area, whatever the case might be, because everybody's needs are different. What you value and what adds to your quality of life may not be what I value and adds to my quality of life. So I think that it's not a one-size-fits-all proposition, and you have to listen, and that's what I want to do.
Right. Well, I think Ward 1 is in good hands, and we appreciate you coming by.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you guys are doing to publicize Hickory. It's your passion for the city is obvious, and we need that. We need to publicize ourselves and get the word out there.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much. We're going to move right along. In the spirit of Christmas, well, this is our what's today's date? The
11th.
The 11th.
My anniversary.
Is it your
Happy anniversary, babe. Yep.
Aw.
Not you, babe.
Oh, not me?
No.
Oh, how dare you? Okay. So, I just wanted to take a minute to let our listeners know that there are organizations out there that are still actively trying to collect things for the holidays and to give them out to folks that might need them. And two of those are the Toys for Tots Foundation and the Salvation Army Angel Trees. Both of those, you can find out information on the internet. You can donate money. There's places where you can drop off toys and all that good stuff. So just kind of keep your eyes and ears out for that. And if you know a need in the community, you don't have to go through an organization to do it. You can do it. You can try to do something yourself. So I just want to also bring up some downtown events that are happening in the next couple of weeks. The next 2 Thursday nights, the Hickory Downtown Development Association is putting on the Hickory Holiday. And tomorrow night, which will be December 12th, 5:30, 7:30, they're going to have Little Sammy the Train, where you can bring your kids out. They can do free train rides around Union Square. Foothill Stretch and Grow is having events there. It's called Reindeer Boot Camp. There's a flash mob that's going to be happening. Letters to Santa, selfie station, all that good stuff. So come to Hickory Downtown in the next couple of weeks. And on the 19th, the following Thursday, the big man's coming. It's not McNally.
I'm already here.
Santa Claus. Santa Claus is coming to Hickory Downtown on Thursday night. Santa and Mrs. Claus are going to be up on the square. Families will be able to take photos, all that good stuff. The Tabernacle Baptist Youth Choir is going to be there singing Christmas carols. The HCDA Holiday Selfie Station is going to be there again. So a couple of really good opportunities for folks to come in. Relish in the holiday spirit, if you will.
I like it.
Thanks. Appreciate
You'd be a good elf.
I would?
Yeah.
First of all, how dare you? And I'm too fat to be an elf. So,
I mean,
right on. So,
you jumped right past that one.
yeah, I know. There's a bunch of holiday events that's happening this Saturday. The Lake Hickory Christmas Boat Parade. You know about that?
I do.
Yeah. So that's going to be a good one. I've got some friends coming in from Pennsylvania this weekend, and they're excited to see that. They saw it on the events happening in Hickory. They're like, we want to go to the boat parade.
Lined up. Well, yeah, nice.
That's cool. So,
I've not been to it.
Don't you want to be underwhelmed or anything, but the Southern Style Christmas Show is happening at the Hickory Metro Convention Center and Visitors Bureau this weekend, as well as a friend of the program, Tony Altoro's Hickory Music Factory 1940s Christmas Radio Hour, and that's featuring Maria Howell, and that is at Drindle Auditorium at the Salt Block.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
Christmas only 2 weeks from today.
That's nuts, right?
This year, they just get faster and faster.
You know why it's going by so fast? Because
I'm getting
this
older.
podcast to look forward to every 2 weeks.
I like it. But I have to see you. I can't say I look forward to that.
How dare you? Well, we did have lunch today.
We did have lunch today.
Yeah.
Of course, you can always find us having lunch every day. But today,
lunch every day?
Every day, sometimes 2.
Right on.
Shuckin Shack.
Yeah.
So I recommended that. Let's go check that out. Now, normally we try to get places that are there's only one spot. It's Hickory centric.
No change. No change is our rule.
Yeah, we're not hitting up the OG or Outback. People have been to one. You've been to a ton of them. But
OG's Olive Garden for this.
Oh yeah, sorry for those not familiar, not hip to the game. So the Shuckin Shack is brand new. It's in the old, short-lived Pi 5 space on Highway 70 across from Academy Sports. It was featured in Hickory Daily Record article last week about being a new business open. Of course, I mentioned that, and your buddy...
Yeah, my buddy Brian Rogers is the owner of the place.
The owner and proprietor, and I guess he's involved in a couple of restaurants in the area.
Yeah, East Coast Wings as well.
So we figured we'd go check it out. He said today, after talking to him, it's probably the 15th.
Yeah, something like that.
Shuckin Shack. So he went and saw some other ones, wanted to bring it here. Hopefully you can recognize from the name. It's, an oyster seafood theme, but they do have a pretty expansive menu, if you ask me, from both the bar side and the restaurant side.
Yeah.
They've got wings, sandwiches, burgers. Now, with that said, thankfully, Moose, we kind of are on the same page, and we split a dozen steamed oysters.
We did. They were delicious.
They were awesome. It took
really
me back to college when we would go to this place, Wimpy's, outside of Greenville. We'd have to brown bag it, but we'd go there and just get oysters, saltine crackers, horseradish sauce, Tabasco, and be set for a good couple hours. And the horseradish did not disappoint today at this place. It
lit you up, dude.
It flat out cleared me out for the first couple. I had to get my bearings. But they were great. Then I partook in the lobster roll. I guess I was having a little nostalgia from I went to Maine this summer.
Sure.
Obviously, very well aware we are far away from Maine. So that was a little bit of my trepidation, but said, I'll just try it out. Lobster roll with fries. After we had the oysters, they had, and you'll probably bring this up, their homemade cocktail sauce.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
MVP of lunch.
I do think it was.
It was. It really
You could tell it was homemade because right when I looked at it, I was like, I could take the taste Worcestershire, and it's awesome. So I actually had that for my fries, which made them great. The lobster roll was fantastic. However, I didn't even ask what all seasoning they put into it when they mixed it up. Of course, I like a softer roll, and I express that, but you can't please everybody all the time.
Sure, they
just
didn't
like you
ask,
can as a council person. You can't please everybody at a restaurant either. But overall, I really enjoyed the sandwich, the oysters, way better than the company. The ambiance of the restaurant was very good.
Yeah.
I think hopefully it'll do well and stick around in that spot of town. I don't see why it couldn't or shouldn't. I really enjoyed it. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I'm a little biased because one of my hometown buddies is running the place, but it's. I thought the decor was great. I thought the service was fantastic. I thought the lady that was that helping us was really
she was on top of it.
Yeah, she was on top of it. Of course, I split the steamed oysters with you. I thought they were great. I thought the cocktails, honestly, I said it again, it was the MVP of the meal. It was fantastic, which is wild because the owner's like,
he did not like it.
He's like, I don't know if I like it or not. I was like, dude, you like it. It's good. I had ahi tuna as well, and it was cooked perfect. Came with wasabi and this kind of like aioli type mayonnaise sauce or whatever. I thought it was fantastic. I'm definitely going to go back again. Again, that was like our first like chainish restaurant, if you will, but it didn't feel like it when you walked in.
You have to have been in one of a very small sample of towns to know about it and try it. It's brand new here, so it did not feel chainy.
Sure. If you had to rate it, what do you think you'd give it?
I really was impressed. I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a good score. Yeah,
on your wonderful scale, what would you?
I am very biased because of this, but I'd give it a solid like 6.8 out of 7 because I loved. We'll explain that later. Well, the ahi tuna was great. I thought the steamed oysters were just they were out of bounds good. I've had oysters all over town, and they're right up there. They're right up there with some of them, and honestly, the price point was good. It was. It wasn't
for oysters. I mean, that's
for
shucked.
Yeah,
and like I told you, when they were shucked, they were ready to. Sometimes they'll just crack them open and they don't release them,
sure,
so to speak, or clear them out of the shell.
Yeah,
and then you're sitting there fighting it. And, that wonderful. For those scoring at home, Moose, you gave it a 9.7 out of a normal American scale.
6.7. How dare you?
No, but your 6.7 on your stupid scale came out to be a 9.7 for a normal person's scale. That's awesome.
All right. Yeah, I thought so. One of the higher scores I've given.
Yeah.
For sure. Shuckin Shack, located on Highway 70, Old Pie 5.
I'll be back.
Yeah, same here.
Good.
Same here. Tony, you an oyster guy?
I am. Yes, I am.
I think
go check it out.
I will. Up. Yeah, I'll have to go. My wife and I, Lainey and I, every couple times a month on Fridays we go get a dozen and get some Tabasco and horseradish, some saltines, and we're off and running.
They had just a touch. I was telling McNally at lunch, I like just a touch of grit in those oysters, and they had it. It was fantastic. So again, Highway 70, Shuckin Shack. Go check them out. Go tell Brian Rogers, the guys from Street Circle Drive, Moose and McNally said, "What's up?" Tony, thanks again for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for your services. We appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. And thank you so much for having me here
Absolutely.
today.
We're looking forward to all the great things you're going to do for us. And to our Street Circle Drive listeners, we appreciate you listening and all that good stuff. I forgot one other event. And we didn't talk about this at all, but I'm sure you guys saw in the paper that the Mossar Mansion is getting raised in January. And my father-in-law is a proprietor of that place, and he's got a new place, so he's set. But we're throwing a really big New Year's Eve party there. So if anybody's interested, Moose and Friends is playing it. So it's $50, all you can eat, all you can beer and wine, champagne toast. $50.
Are you charging him double to play?
Am I charging him double?
You should.
I'm not. I'll tell you later what I'm charging. But yeah, for McNally, this is Moose. For Tony Wood, thank y'all for listening. This has been Street Circle Drive here on the Mesh.
Love where you live.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.